What's up, girls and guys? Giovanni here, and I am a fan of Nikki Cross, and I have been wondering where exactly is her storyline going ever since she returned on October 16th of Monday Night Raw. I have been waiting for the end game. Well, I'm going to fantasy book on where I will have Triple H take it. So, let's begin.
Alright then, on with the show.
So I'm going to have to go back to her last appearance, which was July 3rd of Monday Night Raw. And on that night, we saw Emma and Nikki Cross team up in a tag team turmoil match. Candice had gotten eliminated by Chelsea Green. Nikki had then got into the match, but she saw Candice on the outside, who was hurt. With that, she had tagged Emma and focused her attention on Candice, asking her if she's okay, saying that she no longer could focus on the match, which then got her team eliminated. From there, we never saw Nikki, Candice, or Indi Hartwell on TV ever again for a while. What I will say is that Triple H, or really Vince, at the time didn't want to book Nikki and the Other Way members on TV. So what I'm going to say is because they weren't being used, Nikki thought this was the best time to start hanging out. Nikki gets to know Candice, Indi, Dexter, Johnny, and Ciampa. They go to the carnival, do laser tag, play golf, go to the pool, do cook hangouts, tell each other their deep darkest secrets. Dexter shows Nikki his axe collection and showing her how to stalk people. The Nikki Cross that I want to present here is the one where she was teaming up with Alexa. Remember, she is dancing with Oscar on the table and talkative? I call that version of her Fun Nikki. But the fun has to be slowed down because Candice and Johnny's babysitter had to leave and they couldn't find a new one. So for the foreseeable future, they're gonna have to watch Quill by themselves. Ciampa is on the road wrestling. Indi and Lumis are going to try to have a baby, so they will be occupied. Nikki understands this, but only for 1 week. She starts targeting Candice and Johnny, more specifically Candice. She calls her phone and says, okay, it's been a week. Can we hang out now? Candice, I can't. From there, Nikki starts doing what Dexter Lumis taught her, stalking. She's watching them from their house, following to the store, etc. One specific day, Candice catches Nikki outside her gym as she had some free time, and Nikki says, this is a coincidence. I didn't know you start going to this gym. Candice, you know I go to this gym, but you don't. You don't go to this gym. Didn't you tell me you went to that other gym? Well, that gym got shut down. Candice feels uncomfortable and has a unsettling feeling like she is lying. But then she leaves, not looking back, and Nikki is staring straight at her. Later that night, Candice and Johnny find her in their apartment, which scares them to death. Now you would think that will end the relationship right then and there, but I will say Dexter Lumis has done this a couple times to them, so they'll let it slide. As time goes by, Candice and Johnny have to go on the run as they've noticed Nikki following them. They blocked her phone number because she would keep calling asking, can we hang out? Same goes for Ciampa, Indi, and Dexter blocking her number as well. Candice and Johnny would move house to house until one day Nikki catches them at one of their friends' house. Candice snaps and yells at her. This has gone too far. Even Dexter wouldn't do this. She then turns to Johnny. Actually, I don't know. That's debatable. It hurts me to say this, Nikki, but we are no longer friends. We can't hang out. Nikki keeps smiling and says, okay, it's a mutual agreement. She turns around and gets that blank, emotionless face and walks out the house. Johnny's like, I'm glad that's over. Johnny turns on his phone as he had to turn it off, thinking Nikki will track his location. He receives a phone call from Triple H telling him not only he has been trying to reach him for weeks, but he finally has wrestling plans for him. Plus, Ciampa has been looking for him. Cut to October 2nd, 2023, Johnny returns to the WWE. The 9th, Candice and Indi return, and the 16th, Nikki returns. Correct me if I'm wrong, but there was never an in-universe reason as to why Johnny wasn't there. Same goes for Candice and Indi as well. I mean, sure, there was that backstage segment with Wade Barrett where he said he's been ready to come back for a while. You can still fit that in as well. Regardless, Nikki being the one causing them not to be on TV along with the real life situation of not being booked is a good mix. Now that you have all been caught up, we are now in the present. We now know why Nikki is the way she is. She no longer has any friends, and that's why she's acting the way she is. She's showing up in this emotionless state. It's because she doesn't care. And you can maybe have some small, keyword, small suicidal themes to this. When she was tagging with Natalya and being in the Battle Royal, this was the only thought going through her mind.
Why are we still here? Just to suffer? Every night, I can feel my leg.
Now remember on November 14th where Walter and The Miz were talking and Nikki was in the background? Well, she thought of a way on how she thinks she's gonna get Candice to be her best friend again. Let's be honest, we know where it's going. It's gonna be Imperium versus DIY and The Miz. Miz is a former friend of Ciampa, and Ciampa is a friend of Johnny, and Johnny is the husband to Candice. This is a ticket back in. So on an episode of Raw, Nikki throughout the night is following The Miz, and near the end of the show, Miz catches her following him, and he says, "What do you want?" Nikki comes up to him holding a picture of Candice, and it says friend on it. It's known backstage. All the wrestlers know what happened between Nikki and the Way group, as Candice told everyone. Miz says, "So you want me to help you two become best friends again?" I don't think so. I don't think so. Nikki shows her phone to him, shocking him, which ends the segment. Next week, on the following Raw, Miz is looking for Candice. He goes to Johnny's locker room and says, "Hey, where's your wife? She's not here at the moment. She'll be here later. What do you want her for?" That's none of your concern. Miz leaves the locker room, and later on that night, Candice finds The Miz. "I'm here. Johnny said you wanted to speak to me. I need you to become best friends with Nikki Cross again." Candice is appalled by this, and what makes you think what makes you think I would do that? Miz shows her his phone with Maurice on it while having teary eyes. Candice stares at the phone for several seconds. "You know what, Miz? I don't like you at all, but I do like Maurice, so I'll tell you what, I'm gonna help you get her back. I'll call Dexter, but I don't know if he'd be willing to help. After all, you took his money away from him. Look, I'll pay him. Just get her back." Candice smirks and says, "Alright, I'll go make the call." Miz gets the good news and sees Maurice has been freed. He finds Nikki in a lit dark part of the WWE arena. "You thought, Nikki, my wife is safe. And don't ever think about trying that again. Now you're lucky I'm not going to Adam with this. You're lucky I'm not going to the cops with this. But hey, I'm in a good mood, so I'm going to leave it alone. As for you, you better try to find another way to get Candice on your good side." This writes off The Miz in this storyline. Now you're probably wondering, where exactly is Dexter Lumis in this storyline? You could say either he's there off screen or visiting his parents, because the real life reason from what I saw was he's on another TV show. Him visiting his parents could be a storyline in and of itself. Imagine that. Him and Indi, they took a break on the whole trying to have a kid. So the following weeks, Candice is picking up wins at singles matches. Indi is slightly taking a seat back. Nikki has changed the focus to solely stalking Candice, but she's also gonna have other segments with other wrestlers. I'm even gonna have her run into Jay Uso. Nikki will also have segments with Adam Pearce as he keeps putting her into matches, but she either walks out the match or she lays down in the middle of the ring as soon as the bell rings. December 25th, Christmas edition. Since the wrestlers get this week off, I will have WWE release a video to the public in where Nikki takes out Indi Hartwell, but no one can prove it was her. January 1st, 2024. Adam has been getting fed up with Nikki not actually wrestling, as she is a great wrestler. So he pulls a Eric Bischoff on what he did to Kane. If you don't go out there and actually wrestle, you're fired. But it comes to her match as she is facing Isla Lee. When the bell rings, she goes ballistic, destroying her to then win the match. Now y'all know why Nikki did not get involved when Isaiah attacked Candice and knocked out Indi. It's because Nikki weren't friends with them anymore. But even with that, there's a little bit of her that still cares on what Isaiah did to them. And this match is her getting revenge. Candice, who is watching this on TV, thinks to herself, this is not good. Since October, she has been avoiding her and thinks the clock is ticking for them running into each other because she already took out Indi. 1 week later, January 8th, 2024, Rhea Ripley is defending the women's world title against Candice. She thinks the 1 month winning streak will be enough to take the title from Rhea. During the entrance, Rhea comes out first. I don't like when champions come out first, but it's about to make sense. Then Candice comes out, but right behind her, you can see Nikki creeping and watching her. After a 20-minute banger of a match, Rhea retains the title as she heads backstage. Nikki heads to the ring, passing Rhea. Nikki gets to the ring and destroys her. She punches her in the face multiple times, throws her into the steel stairs, hits her with a kendo stick, and then hits her finisher, the crossover. She leaves the ring and leaves the building. Johnny and Ciampa, who were occupied while this was happening, finally come down to confront her while the doctors take Candice to the hospital. Next week on Raw, I know I wrote off The Miz, but I'm gonna bring him back for a Miz TV segment where he interviews Nikki Cross, and we hear her speak for the first time, and we finally get the explanation about what happened when Nikki and The Way were away and why she's the way she is now. Everything I talked about earlier with Nikki and The Way when they weren't being booked and becoming friends, we are gonna get a reenactment of that. It's gonna be exactly like when Johnny was explaining what happened between Dexter and Miz, but it won't be blurred. During Miz TV, Johnny will come out and they will talk about the situation. It ends with Johnny saying even Dexter would be ashamed. Indi Hartwell returns and provides footage of her attack, proving it was Nikki. Those two face off in a match, but Indi loses. January 22, 2024. Throughout the night, Nikki is causing problems with Adam, which is angering him. So Adam confronts her and decides to teach her a lesson, as she needs to be punished. She needs to be brutalized. He puts her up against Rhea Bloody Ripley, an old friend of hers that she turned on. When the bell rings, Nikki immediately goes to do her crazy thing like she did on Isla and Indi, but Rhea immediately had
shut that shit down
as she gets kicked in the face. After a 12-minute banger of a match, Rhea wins with the Riptide, and as she leaves the ring, Candice runs past her and starts attacking Nikki. Candice beats her up, and Rhea, who didn't leave, pulls Nikki from under the ropes and hits another Riptide on her. I did it that way as I do not want Nikki being a cowardly heel. And yes, if you haven't noticed this by now, Nikki is the heel and Candice is the face. Rhea leaves and Candice goes to grab a mic. On the mic, this is what she says. I find it funny you thought you had all these friends, but you really didn't. I was your only true friend. You were only friends with Indi, Dexter, Johnny, and Ciampa through me. Despite that, they still loved you. But when you screwed up that relationship with me, you screwed up that relationship with them. Next week on Raw, when I appear on the show as the 2024 Women's Royal Rumble winner, I will also be sending you packing to SmackDown because I will be beating you in a one-on-one match. Mic drop and the crowd cheers. Royal Rumble time. Candice comes out at number 13 because that number means bad luck. Nikki, who has come out later in the match, eliminates her. And right after that, Indi eliminates Nikki. On the outside, Nikki pays no attention to Indi. And as Candice leaves, Nikki goes after her to continue fighting her. The Raw after the Rumble, Nick shows up on the show as Nikki could possibly be moving over there. He talks to Adam. I can't believe you convinced me of this. And for you to not trade anyone for her, like I said last week, you're used to crazy chicks, as you are married to one. But look, if she comes onto your show, I know you will keep her in check. So at the 9:30 slot, we get Candice LeRae versus Nikki Cross. If Nikki loses, she goes to SmackDown. If Nikki wins, Candice must be Nikki's best friend again. And it's obvious who wins. It's Candice. Johnny, a returning Indi, Ciampa, and Dexter too, as he should be back on TV at this point, come out to celebrate with her. Nikki starts crying as she heads backstage. When Nikki gets backstage, all the people Nikki tortured and stalked, they wave goodbye, with The Miz and Maurice being one of them. Nikki gets in her car and R-Truth says his goodbye, but in a funny way to cheer her up. I put him in here is because I want to see if he can make her break character. SmackDown, February 2nd, 2024. Nikki shows up to the show and is greeted by Nick, and he lays the law down. If she attacks, stalks, or doesn't try to compete in the ring, she will be fired. So he welcomes her to the show and he leaves. She then meets Austin Theory and he says to her, Nikki, you should have become friends with them. I would have always had time for you. You see, that's why I don't hang out with them. And if you think me coming up to you is me inviting you to become my best friend, I'm sorry. I already have a best friend, and that is Grayson Waller. Theory walks off. Now, throughout February, we get a different Nikki Cross. She's not in this angry, suicidal depression hindsight anymore. She's in a sheltering, safe place hindsight, where she wants to be left alone and just come to work and wrestle. I'm gonna have Nikki meet Jimmy. Oh, yeah! So. With her loss to Candice and not trying to focus on that, it still distracts her as she goes on a losing streak. On the last February, she loses to Mia Yim. Once that match is over, the lights go out in the arena, and on the Titantron, you see Isla and Alba pop out. They say witchy things, and it ends with them saying, "We are your friends now," which puts a smile on Nikki's face. Now, throughout March, Nikki is still on a losing streak, but she is helping Dawn and Alba win singles, but more specifically, tag matches. Skipping to WrestleMania 40, it's a fatal 4-way tag team match for the women's titles. The Way versus Chelsea Green and Piper Niven versus Isla and Alba versus one of these 3 teams, I'm gonna say. Katana Chance and Kaden Carter, Bailey and Dakota Kai, or Asuka and Kari Say. But let's go with number 1 for now. The focus of this build is who is Nikki going to pick? Her former friends of the Way or Dawn and Fire? Dawn and Fire throughout March has not been treating Nikki well, so you could say it's karma. So let's skip to the end of the match. Nikki has to help either Candice or Dawn. This could go 3 different ways. Number 1, Nikki helps Candice win the match. Candice won't like her and Indi won the titles with help, but Nikki apologizes to what she put her and the rest of the Way members through, but she knows that won't be enough. Candice, being who she is, a nice person, is willing to talk things out with her, but Nikki still needs time to herself. Even when the draft comes, she makes sure she stays on SmackDown and all the Way members stays on Raw by threatening the WWE production. Plus, she will hide from the Way as they are the champions and can't appear on the show. Number 2, she helps Dawn. It's her and Fire then become more nicer to her over time, and they all become equals on the team, and they teach her their witchy ways. Number 3, Nikki helps Candice or Dawn, but Chelsea or Katana's team win. Nikki can help Candice, but Chelsea or Katana will come in the ring and throw them out the ring to pick up the victory. The reason I said Bailey and Dakota and Asuka and Kari Sane, well, that's going to be explained in a different video. I want to go back to when Mia Yim beat Nikki Cross on the last SmackDown of February. This will be an alternate path. Instead of Isla Dawn and Alba Fire coming on the Titantron, it would then be Uncle Howdy coming out. He's going to come out and all he would do is tip his hat towards Nikki with her smiling. Those 2 will then become a team and remain together until Alexa Bliss comes back. Not only Alexa will join, but 3 other members, or should I say 4 as well. Karrion Cross will be on the team, which means Scarlett has to join as well. This makes not the Wyatt 6, but the Wyatt 7. And yes, Bo Dallas is Uncle Howdy. So that is my fantasy booking of the Nikki Cross Trance storyline. People have speculated that Uncle Howdy or Isla Dawn and Alba Fire is the reason as to why the way she is. That's why I've included them both. Now, I wanted to let y'all know I had cut out a scene that is for a Raw episode when Nikki was gonna come out as the 3 phases, or more like the 5 faces of Nikki Cross. The Trance version, the NXT Sanity version, Nikki Ash, Fun Nikki, and just to be funny, Nikki coming out as the Fun PhD version, bringing in real life into it a little. But if you didn't like that, it would be the modified version of NXT Sanity. I just hope wherever Triple H takes this storyline, it's good. But he also closes the Nikki and Candice storyline, even if it's a 1-line sentence. Triple H could easily have Candice say this: "We became friends, and then it ended." That trance that's been happening recently has not been because of me. I remember when Eric Young was still in the company, I thought it was leading to a Sanity versus the Wade feud, but that is not happening. Lastly, let me know how many times I have said Candice LeRae and Nikki Cross throughout the video, including that last one. Anyway, if you have any questions you would like for me to address from this fantasy booking, let me know in the comment section. But with that being said, get your fingers up and say it with me. Bye.